Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today the Texas Longhorns beat the Rice Owls 37-10 in the Texas Longhorns' first game of the season. What a great game from our Texas Longhorns today, where Texas gets to win 37-10. Was a little bit of a slow first half for Texas, as they only scored 16 points against a Rice team, who is not a very good team. Honestly, Texas. I'm not saying that Texas should have scored 16 points in the first quarter, but if you would have told me Texas would have, in the first half, Texas would only have 16 points, I would think you meant first quarter. I thought Texas's offense was going to be, lights out to start this ball game, but a little bit of a new offense. They have to adjust. You have some new names, especially with running back with Rashawn Johnson and Bijan Robinson gone from the offense. Not only that, you have those two guys, gone on the offense, but you have a new guy in Adonai Mitchell who had a really solid game with a touchdown. So it is a little bit of a new offense for this Longhorns team. So it took them a minute, but the third quarter is where they got it going, scoring 3 touchdowns. But let's go over this ball game for the Texas Longhorns. As the number 11 team in the country, the Texas Longhorns have beat Rice 37-10. All right, here's the scoring summary. The first score of the ball game would go to Rice on a 3-minute drive for Rice, where Tim Horn makes a 43-yard field goal to make it 3-0. Then Texas scores their first points of the game when Quinn Ewers throws a 37-yard touchdown pass on a screen play to Jonathan Brooks, 7-3. And then the second quarter, there were 3 scores for the Texas Longhorns, but they were all field goals for Bert Auburn. With 13 minutes remaining in the second quarter, a 27-yard field goal for Auburn, 10-3. Then with 8 minutes to go in the second quarter, Bert Auburn, 46-yard field goal, 13-3. And then going into halftime, Bert Auburn also makes a 49-yard field goal to make it 16-3. So Texas in the second quarter was all of field goals and only 16 points in the first half. But then in the third quarter, the Texas Longhorns score 3 touchdowns for Quinn Ewers, 2 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown run for Quinn Ewers. And third quarter starts when Quinn Ewers connects with his new wide receiver from Georgia, Adonai Mitchell. Bert Auburn makes the extra point. It's 23-3. And then Quinn Ewers throws a touchdown dime to Tavion Sanders. And Bert Auburn makes the extra point again. It's 30-3. And then Quinn Ewers leads another touchdown drive. And Quinn Ewers runs it in for a 1-yard touchdown run. And Bert Auburn makes another extra point. It's 37-3. And then the only touchdown of the ballgame for Rice was when JT Daniels threw a 15-yard touchdown pass to Luke McCaffrey, and the extra point for Tim Horn would be good, and it's 37-10 is the final score. Also, we saw Quinn Ewers come out of this ballgame because Texas was up 37-3 after Texas had the drive where Quinn Ewers where Quinn Ewers had the touchdown run. They took Quinn Ewers out and put in I think it's Malik Murphy. He's our backup quarterback. So Arch Manning did not come in the ball game in a blowout in this ball game. Malik Murphy did, and Texas gets to win 37-10. Our game leaders: JT Daniels for Rice had a 14 for 26 day with 150 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 2 interceptions, while Quinn Ewers threw 19 for 30 with 260 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Rushing yards for Rice: Connors with 8 carries and 23 rushing yards. And then for Texas, Jaden Blue with 10 carries and 55 rushing yards. For Rice, Walker had 2 receptions for 47 receiving yards, and Xavier Worthy had himself a day in his first game of the season, everybody's first game of the season, with 7 receptions and 90 receiving yards for Texas. His name is Malik Murphy, and he threw 3 for 5 in this ball game with 40 passing yards and played a couple of drives for Texas. Besides Jaden Blue having a really solid day with 55 rushing yards, Jonathan Brooks also had 52 rushing yards, and C.J. Baxter also had 38 rushing yards as well in this ball game. And Texas got a decent amount of receiving. I mean, a really decent rushing game today for Texas. I mean, didn't feel like it did before with Bijan and Roschon, but I like this new running back duo between Jonathan Brooks, Jaden Blue, and even C.J. Baxter added in there as well. All right, other receiving besides Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington had 4 receptions for 47 receiving yards, while Jatavion Sanders had 2 receptions for 44 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. Adonai Mitchell in his first game as a Longhorn had 3 receptions for 26 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. The only fumble in this ball game was by Jet Bush, who recovered a fumble that was lost by Quentin Jackson, an offensive player for Rice. So the Texas Longhorns did have a fumble recovery alongside 2 interceptions today. Texas had 2 sacks, 1.5 sacks for Ethan Burke, and a half sack for David Jabinda. And they had a total of 5 tackles for loss, with 2 interceptions from Jalen Ford and Austin Jordan in this ball game for the Texas Longhorns. Great way to start the season for the Texas Longhorns, but they have their toughest challenge next week, where they travel to Alabama, the number 4 team in the country. Yes, Texas is they're the 11th team in the country, and when this week is over, they'll probably be either the 10th or 9th team in the country in the new college football rankings. They will probably either jump one of Florida State or LSU, whoever loses that game tomorrow night. But it's going to be a top 10 matchup most likely between Texas and Alabama. Alabama will be ranked 4, while Texas will be ranked either 10 or 9 in the new college football rankings. And it'll be interesting to see if Texas can maybe pull off an upset like they almost did last year. The only difference is last year when Texas almost beat Alabama with a second string quarterback, they were at home. This time they'll be in Alabama, so it's going to be an interesting game to watch next week. If this is our chance. If we can beat Alabama next week, I think we're in line to maybe have a really good season. And if we can somehow beat Alabama next week, I think there's a chance we could make the college football playoffs if we can have success down the road after potentially upsetting Alabama next Saturday. You guys let me know your thoughts on the game today. I will say this. If they play the way they did in the first half against Rice at all, at any point of the ball game next week at any point of the ball game against Alabama, whether it's the first, third, second, or fourth quarter against Alabama, if they play the way they did in the first half against Alabama at any point in the ball game, they will get their asses kicked by Alabama. So they got to be absolutely perfect next week. No mistakes. You made some mistakes in the first half against a bad Rice team with offensively. Defense was great in the first half. But this Texas team needs to be better on offense if they want to beat Alabama next week. 37 points against Rice. I feel like Texas should have scored more points in this ballgame, but I think that's just because of the first half with some scoring problems on offense. That's it for the video. If you guys enjoyed them, your thoughts, and peace out. Go Longhorns.